Real Bitcoin's future's bright, folks. Sorry, haters. Your crystal ball's just a snow globe of tears.
Oh yeah, they're shaking it hard, but all I see is glitter and sadness.
Real Bitcoin's about scaling. Build it and they'll come. Eventually.
People will come, Ray. People will most definitely come.
Real Bitcoin's warming up, baby.
Yeah, Cage.
Mr. G.
Let's get stuck into some real Bitcoin talk.
Let's do that.
That's what this show's about. Real Bitcoin.
None of that crypto stuff.
There's a lot of Bitcoins out there. A lot of fakes. A lot of bootlegs.
Like we always say, Mr. G, there's only one original. The rest is just knockoffs.
That's it. But people are saying that real Bitcoin BSV is dead. Is it dead, Cage?
Never. Mr. G, it just got born, literally. You know, so for it having to die, I think it's just something that's wishful.
And I have never died.
And people have been trying to bury it for a long time. Nobody wants Satoshi's vision.
Nah, man, and it's quite inevitable for it to prevail, Mr. G, because this vision is quite clear.
We need to wake people up.
Because when you look at the true nature of it, there's a lot of things happening that a lot of people are not aware of. I mean, we were talking about Terranode the other day.
Yeah, exactly. So there's this general vibe that's going on around in the interwebs, in the socials. Mm-hmm. People are thinking that real Bitcoin, or at least what Satoshi invented, BSV, his vision for Bitcoin, is dead. And we don't see it that way, hey, Cage?
No way, Mr. G. I feel like the cryptos, that's the narrative they want to push. I feel like if they push that lie, a lot of people will believe it, not realizing that they are just pushing that for their own benefit.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, there's a whole universe of people out there who don't want Satoshi's vision.
Yeah.
You know, if you got Satoshi's vision, you don't have this universe of cryptos and this ability to pump and dump and, you know, try and speculate and all that. There's no space in the world if Bitcoin, the way Satoshi envisioned it, finally comes into the world and does what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because crypto is not about utility. It's not about usefulness.
It's never been.
It's about horoscopes. You see?
In retro rage.
Yes. And everybody is looking at the bones. They're throwing the bones. They're looking at the horoscopes. They're all trying to figure out, you know, which one is going to pump first. So, you ready?
I'm ready, Mr. G.
Okay. Let's do this. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Centbee Show. I'm your host, Lorian Gamroff, and my co-host is KG, the real Nchingila. KG, welcome to the show.
How you doing, Mr. G?
Very good. Thank you very much.
Oh, good.
My man.
You know, we've been in this Bitcoin space now for many, many years.
Yeah.
And we've watched how crypto has grown and blown up and taken over the minds of the world with this crypto mind virus. This cancer that eats all your common sense.
It's so contagious, man.
Yep.
Jeez.
And we want to just get stuck into why we think the real Bitcoin, because remember there are many different versions of Bitcoin. So what we're talking about is the real Bitcoin. So real Bitcoin, Satoshi's vision for Bitcoin, is not just alive, but it is growing in its power and its capabilities. There's a lot of people out there who are awake to the fact that Satoshi's vision is just slowly brewing and growing and starting to turn into a monster that is about to be born into the world. But there's a lot of people out there who don't see that.
Yeah.
And why? Because they have this price in their heads. They think price is everything. And if you don't have a high price on something, then it ain't valuable. But as Warren Buffett said, price is what you pay and value is what you get.
Yeah.
And you can go out there and you can pay high prices for things, but it doesn't mean you're getting any value. And right now, the most undervalued and underappreciated thing in the entire world is Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And that is not BTC, the crypto version of Bitcoin, the version that is trying to become maximally decentralized and unstoppable and unconfiscatable.
The unusable one.
Yes, the one that you can't use, the one that just sits there on your what's it, on your
A flash drive.
flash drive.
Literally.
Actually, people don't even keep it on their flash drives. They keep it on the exchanges because
the
they're
way.
just watching those candlesticks, those ups and downs. That's what it means to everybody.
Yeah, where fundamentals don't matter.
Yes,
Yeah.
there are no fundamentals.
Nothing.
There is no second best.
There's no second best crypto asset. There's a crypto asset. It's called Bitcoin, right? Right? There's no second best, okay?
So we want to get into this idea of Bitcoin, real Bitcoin, BSV, Bitcoin Satoshi's vision, and whether it's alive or whether it's dead. And of course, from where we're sitting, we don't just see it as being alive, but we see it as being hungry for the world, and it's going to come and eat every single blockchain and every crypto out there.
You know, one thing that people don't realize is that there's a lot of activity that's happening, like on the BSV side, and we're talking like true activity of utility.
Yes.
You know, where there's enterprises that are building real businesses. You know, they are creating solutions that will be basically on the blockchain that everyone needs. And awesome that we are part of that, Mr. G. We are part of making that history. But a lot of people are not aware of that.
That's right. You know, when you think about this world that we're in right now, this blockchain world, there are multiple levels. And when we look at the real Bitcoin, the Satoshi's vision version of Bitcoin, what's been happening all this time is happening at the foundation layer. And foundations are not the beautiful part of the building that you see.
Nobody sees the foundation.
It's underground.
Yeah.
And it's the strength. It's
Yes.
the foundation, the place that everything is built on top of.
Yeah.
And so when people look at real Bitcoin BSV, they don't see a beautiful mansion with pretty girls wandering around.
Yet.
Yet.
Yeah.
And if you are insightful enough, and if you've got the brains for it, and not just somebody who is just, you know, superficially involved and has no depth, if you start digging deep, you're going to see that there are some incredible foundations being built with Bitcoin SV by organizations that you might have only sort of heard about, like the Bitcoin Association and other developer groups out there. And they're not making a big noise. They're not talking about, look at our coin, look how high the price is, we must be the best.
Nope.
No ways. There's just silent, quiet building happening there. And the next thing you're going to see when you turn around is that there's going to be this beautiful green field that has been fertilized and is just waiting for businesses to come and plant their seeds and to start growing their businesses on this foundation. But in crypto, there's no foundation. It's all that fluff, all those bubbles.
I feel like it's just a skyscraper built with toothpicks. You know, like it's like this has no foundation. It can crumble anytime, but nobody sees that. Everyone is, you know, gunning just to put a stick, just to tower it up.
It's lipstick on a pig.
That thing looks horrible.
Right?
Straight up, doesn't look good, yo.
That's right. So, you know, we are not worried that there are no BSV apps that have taken over the world. I mean, Centbee's on its way there, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that the blockchain itself, the BSV blockchain, is worthless or it's dead. It just means that it's getting ready.
Yeah.
It's preparing itself. It's taking time. It's like a tortoise. You know, you've got the hare out there, and that's crypto. They're all just rushing, trying to get that price to the moon.
They're rushing nowhere fast.
And what's going to happen is they're going to run out of steam, and they're just going to fall over and they're going to collapse. But the tortoise, the slow, quiet, nothing fancy, just plodding step by step, not being bothered by all the chatter that's going on online, all the haters and the non-believers, and frankly the people who just don't have the smarts to be able to figure this out.
Copy that. Slow and steady wins the moon.
So we are not worried about the pace of this innovation. Very often innovation takes a long time to be realized. I mean, there are many inventions that changed the world, but when they came onto the scene the first time, people didn't know what they were. They just thought they were silly or wastes of time. And look what happened. Years later, we now have these technologies, if you just look at any technology, that has transformed our life.
Any tech, Mr. G, because remember, it's part of also, like, you know, our nature as human beings to try to find ways that make, you know, our lives easier. You know, and I feel like BSV sort of like hits it on the nose regarding how easier it can make our lives, whether it's through, you know, supply chain, whether it's through cheaper transactions. Because if it works, I don't see why not it wouldn't prosper.
You got it. So this is the world we're in. We're in a world where you've got to be smart. You've got to open your eyes and look around and look at the real world and not just live on your little fluffy cloud of hopium and thinking that, it's all about price and it's all about shilling and it's all about pumping and dumping. Anybody in this space who talks about price and is worried about price and thinks about price, well, you've missed it. You've lost it. You're just going to be forever this victim, because there's nothing you can do about it. You can't game the market. You can't do anything about the price. The price is going to be gamed under you.
Yeah.
And you're probably more likely than not going to be a victim of that price when it gets dumped on you.
Yeah.
But if you're focusing on real value and building for the future, well, there's only one blockchain, and that's the real Bitcoin blockchain.
So yeah, Ms. G, we're talking price, right? I mean, BTC is on 92 or 93.
1,000.
And that's quite a lot, especially if you're looking at the history. But when we look at BSV, it's far, far, far off from where BTC is. And then we take a look at Solana, which was, it was birthed after BSV basically, but now it has the number 5th spot on the coin market cap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And so often you're going to hear in the crypto space that the market decides. The market is going to decide. And when the market decides in crypto, of course, that's reflected in the price. And that's the decision.
Yeah.
That's what people are saying, that the
Yeah.
market has decided. They're buying these cryptos because that's the one they want.
Yeah.
That's what the market is deciding.
Yeah.
But all that's showing you is how speculative these cryptos are. And the fact that you can buy them and sell them on all these different crypto exchanges doesn't mean that the market is deciding which crypto is better. So when you see people trading these cryptos on these exchanges and the prices are going so high, that's not telling you how useful these cryptos are and how much the market is demanding these cryptos to fulfill some use case. All that it's showing is which cryptos people are speculating on and which cryptos are being pumped and which cryptos are being dumped. So when the market decides in this world, it's not that a market of real people with real use cases and real demand for these cryptos. All it's showing is which cryptos are hot right now and which ones have the biggest buzz. And of course, when it comes to Solana, and there are other supposed utility blockchains out there like Cardano and Ripple and Ethereum, but at the end of the day, that blockchain isn't being pumped because of the utility demand for these cryptos. This is just the reality. We don't have a market of people who are demanding these tokens for use. All you have is a market of speculators trading on these exchanges. And when you are speculating on something and there's no fundamental basis for its value, then it's extremely easy for those cryptos just to be dumped through the floor. And so price isn't, in this particular stage, because we have a universe of cryptos, price doesn't determine the value of something.
I ain't check the price. I got it.
It just determines the speculative nature of these cryptos. If a token is being used on a day-to-day basis, and if people are acquiring those tokens because they need to use them in some business activity, in other words, if there's demand for the token itself, not just the token to speculate on the price, but actually demand for the token to be used in some activity, some business activity, some consumer related activity, that's a real natural demand for a token. Now, all these other cryptos out there, and I mean, most importantly, the BTC version of Bitcoin, everybody knows there is no utility to this crypto. People don't want it because it's useful to them. It's this new way of storing value. Although don't ask anybody what value it's storing. I mean, it's got to be some value, right? Remember, value is a benefit. Value is something that's useful and beneficial to you.
Yes.
Value isn't about some hypothetical price or anything like that.
Facts.
It's something that can benefit you. And when you are saying something's a store of value, it means that this thing can keep the benefit until you're ready to use it.
And it means that it doesn't depreciate.
It could.
It
It
could-
depends on the demand. I mean, if there's
I
maybe a
guess.
big supply that comes onto the market, or maybe people find an alternative.
Yeah,
I mean, that can affect demand.
I guess.
But at the end of the day, when it comes to BTC, as we all know,
Yeah.
and it's not a secret, there is no utility to this
Nothing.
blockchain.
This whole idea of store of value, it's just contrary. Because
There's no value.
there's no value.
Yes.
What are we storing here?
That's right.
Yeah.
You're just storing digital whatevers. Okay, there's
Like, it's just random numbers.
exactly. As Peter Schiff famously always says, digital fool's gold. So price doesn't make a difference in
Yeah.
this market, because this is a gambler's market. We have a world of casinos. They call them exchanges, but they're casinos.
Yeah.
And people are gambling.
I forgot to tell you, I have a gambling problem.
And when people gamble, they don't care about the utility, the fundamentals. They just care, can they pump something up and can they sell it at a higher price later on?
Yeah.
So price doesn't matter. Real Bitcoin BSV, it doesn't matter what the price is. It can be 1 cent per token, and yet it will still be a very useful technology, a very useful ledger.
Yeah.
It will still enable you to make low-cost digital cash payments. It will still enable you to write information to the blockchain that can be used for data integrity or verification or supply chains or something like that.
And it was meant for that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so the price is meaningless inside BSV. Now, it doesn't mean that price action won't happen.
Yeah.
Because if you think about Bitcoin SV, there are still a limited number of tokens. Bitcoin SV has 21 million as per Satoshi's design.
Yeah.
And that means there's a limited supply. Now, if BSV becomes very useful and very in demand, very valuable to people, in other words,
Sir, Ms. G, it's not if, when.
yes, when.
Yeah.
So when Bitcoin SV has demand, in other words, people want to use it for their businesses and their day-to-day activity, then the more valuable it becomes. In other words, the more benefit it gives them, the more they're going to demand that token. They're going to want to acquire that token. And in a world where you have limited supply and you have demand that increases, yes, the price of that token is going to go higher. And so just because BSV doesn't have a high value now, or should I say a high price now, it certainly has a high value now.
Yo, Mr.
But-
G, I don't think we can even... We can't measure the value at this point.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, value we'll be able to realize further down the line.
Yeah.
But BSV, if people start using it, and the fact that it is massively scalable and useful to us, the more people are going to demand it, and the token price is going to go higher.
Yeah.
But of course, we live in this world where we don't just have BSV and people who understand it as a utility blockchain. We've got a world where people are just dabbling in cryptos and have no understanding about the difference to any of them.
They're not even trying to.
In fact, no difference is needed. No, people don't need to know the difference whatsoever. All they've got to do is they've got to go onto an exchange and they look at the symbols and they see how the price action is on those charts, and they get out their rulers and they start drawing lines and making shapes and patterns and using all this alchemy and witchcraft
Digital alchemy.
to figure out, what's going to happen next, and they trade on it.
Yeah.
So this is not a world where we have people actually using these blockchains. The proof of the pudding is in the eating, and we've got a lot of pudding out there, but none of it's being eaten except the BSV protocol, of course.
And it's so big that everyone is invited, Mr. G.
Yeah.
There's enough pudding for everyone, yo.
Yes. So that is what matters. It's not about the price of the token. It's about how useful that blockchain is to us and how we can use it. And the more useful it is, the higher the price will go because of the limited supply. So don't be fooled into thinking that price is a measure of value.
People would just wake up.
It's just a measure at this stage of how mental people are in this space, and also how susceptible crypto is to market manipulation.
Yeah.
You've got people out there who are these whales who are pumping and dumping on everybody. I mean, you've got teenagers sitting in their bedrooms pumping and dumping these tokens and making money off everybody else. But it's got nothing to do with value. It's all got to do with price speculation. And in a world where there is no fundamental value to anything, well, then price is all you got. But it's a foolish way to measure value at this stage in the crypto market.
Logic and practical information do not seem to apply here.
Facts. Yo, Ms. G, I mean, that also pushes us to talk about, like, Bitcoin, the real Bitcoin got delisted on the exchanges.
Yeah.
And at that point, I feel like it somehow tainted, the real Bitcoin in terms of the community.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is something that happened a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
BSV has always had everybody hating on it. The universe of crypto, the people in the crypto world, they don't want a utility blockchain, one blockchain that is the only blockchain we're going to need. That's what BSV is going to bring eventually, a world with a single blockchain, just like we have a single internet, and all of us are going to use that one blockchain, and it can scale to meet the needs of everybody and every business for everything.
Yeah.
Not just millions of transactions per second, but eventually trillions of transactions per second.
Yeah.
Remember, this technology doesn't reach a scaling ceiling if you follow Satoshi. So this whole idea of a single blockchain is not appreciated by people, especially who run exchanges, crypto exchanges.
Yeah.
Just remember, their whole business model is making trading available to their users to be able to trade anything. I mean, there's fart coin and there's whatever coin.
All the nonsense on the exchanges there, like, it's unethical, Mr. G.
Prices not negotiable.
Well, all an exchange wants is for people to trade, because remember, whether the price goes up and the price goes down, the crypto exchange is taking their cut of the trade.
Yeah.
And so the more crypto tokens that are traded, the more money these crypto exchanges make.
Like we always say, the house always wins.
That's right. The house is winning whether you're losing or not.
Yeah.
And so the last thing that crypto exchanges want is a world with one blockchain. They want a world of confusion where people are just trading millions of cryptos. Now, of course, they'll always say, well, they don't want to determine which crypto is the one that wins. They want to just create a marketplace and everybody can decide. The market can decide, and whichever crypto reaches the highest price, well, there we go. We've given a place, created an environment for market where people can trade cryptos and find the market price. But they don't want a single blockchain world. They don't want one crypto out there that everybody uses, because then their entire business model falls apart.
You ruined it!
And so what happened in history was BSV came out and it says, and the people behind it were saying, this is the only blockchain we need. It can scale to meet the needs of every single person on this planet, every single business. And more than that, just to demonstrate the scale, BSV has the ability to run every single blockchain, all the transactions on all the blockchains on itself.
That's quite funny, because all these existing blockchains can literally run on BSV.
That's right. BTC, Ethereum,
all
Ripple,
of them.
every single transaction that's being created on every single blockchain. If you were to sum all those up, you could run them currently on Bitcoin SV.
Yeah.
So you don't need all these blockchains. And in fact, a world with one blockchain just makes so much sense.
There can be only one.
Because if you think about the internet, now once upon a time, 30, 40 years ago, the internet wasn't just a single network. There were multiple competing internet protocols that were trying to get the number one spot.
Yeah.
And what happened was the world consolidated. It ended up on one single internet protocol because it's the most efficient way to move information around and communicate.
Yeah.
And so eventually the internet kind of converged into the single protocol, and we've got one internet. Now BSV blockchain is exactly that kind of protocol.
Yeah.
It's a single blockchain that can cater to all the world's Bitcoin or blockchain transactions. So we don't need all these different blockchains. Now some people will say, well, look, Ethereum can do different stuff and Solana does different stuff. No, it doesn't.
It's all lies, but they're entertaining lies.
BSV can do every single thing that all these other blockchains can do. It can do smart contracts and Turing-complete systems. It can do all of that. You don't need Ethereum. The only reason why we have Ethereum is because in the early days, the people behind BTC were trying to keep it small and limit the block size. So Vitalik Buterin said, well, I'm going to just go and fork Bitcoin and create my own blockchain, because obviously, we can't have an unscalable blockchain. But if that hadn't happened, and Bitcoin had been allowed to grow and increase its block size, and all the developers out there start focusing on how to process those transactions on the nodes infrastructure,
Yonkers, what are you, lost?
we wouldn't be in a world today that has multiple cryptos out there. People would have realized right early on that this is the only blockchain we need. But because of the developers and the people behind BTC artificially limiting its block sizes and also pushing for changes to the protocol in segregated witness and replaced by fee, all they did was signal to the world that this is not the blockchain that is there to be used by businesses and people who actually want a utility blockchain. And that's really what gave rise to this universe now of cryptos. And it's being fueled by the crypto exchanges out there who are now saying, all right, bring all your cryptos, trade them, have fun. This is what it's all about. Remember, it's not about any utility. It's just about speculation. So the fact that BSV was now coming out as this blockchain that was there to eliminate all these blockchains, at least eliminate the need for them, none of the exchange people, none of the people running these exchanges wanted that at all. And so they said, well, that's it. We don't want this community now that is coming out to steal our lunch.
Because that's literally what it is.
Yes. And they said, well, that's it. We're going to make sure that BSV doesn't get a chance to let the market decide. And so there was a whole wave of delistings. Binance, Kraken, Shapeshift, all these exchanges decided to delist BSV, Coinbase, because they don't want the market to decide that BSV is the only blockchain. That's too much of a risk for them. They want to maintain this universe of cryptos where we just spend our entire lives wasting our money and having false hopes. That's all they want.
But Mr. G, there's also a positive side to it. It having to not be listed means, there's enough time for developers or enterprises to focus on what should be the true focus.
Yes, that's right. It's actually a benefit not having BSV listed on all these crypto exchanges. On one hand, it does make it more difficult if you are somebody out there who wants to acquire BSV for whatever it is. So yes, it has made it more difficult for just an average person to go and get BSV. But on the other hand, it means that now BSV is not considered as part of the whole crypto fest of people trading cryptos. People aren't speculating on BSV in the same way they're speculating on BTC or Ethereum or Solana. And so that's actually a good side to BSV. Remember, we want to make sure that BSV isn't only just low cost and scalable, but we also need a world where the price is stable. And the price is only going to become stable when there's a natural supply and demand process that kicks in there.
Adoption,
And those people are adopting it and they're using it. And as their businesses grow, they're accumulating more BSV to give to their customers or whatever it is in the case of Centbee.
And that's more, an organic nature of it, sort of like turning out the way it should.
That's right. An organic process where people find the use in BSV and bit by bit, gradually they start accumulating it and using it in a day-to-day way. And that means now the price is not subject to speculators trying to pump and dump the price on these exchanges. And so the benefit for BSV not being listed on these exchanges is that now there is no speculation going on. And the people who are looking at BSV now are the ones who are saying, how do we use this? How do we bring this into our business? And how can we actually use it as a utility? And that is now what is giving it that fundamental basis for value. People only are acquiring BSV because they need it for something, not for speculation.
So Ms. G, I mean, we have these weirdos out there who think, utility is a dirty word. And by weirdos, you know who I'm talking about, the cryptards,
And sometimes that's a dirty word.
And why is that though?
Well, it goes back down to the price, of course. If you have a blockchain that is meant to be used, then it's not going to be a blockchain that has a price that just pumps. To your point about people in crypto, they're not looking for a blockchain that is useful, that is going to take a long time to grow and needs developers and needs businesses. And I mean, that's all tedious and
is.
time consuming
Yeah.
and a lot of effort.
Too grown up.
Yes. Who out there wants something that requires hard work and patience and dedication and diligence to get anywhere? Of course, that's not the crypto world.
Nah.
People are looking for the next hot thing, the thing that's going to 10x, 100x, 1000x. That's what they want.
Yeah.
And if you say that your blockchain is a utility blockchain, well, now you've just ruled out any chance of your crypto being pumped.
What is he talking about?
Because all that's going to happen is that people are going to look at the genuine use case and say, all right, we need a little bit of this, and the price might move a little bit. And, it's very boring.
Yeah, too boring.
But for crypto, people want action.
Yeah, they spice it up that side.
That's right. So in crypto, utility is a dirty word because it means now that you're going to have to be patient and you're going to have to sit there and wait for your blockchain to grow organically. It's got nothing to do with price pumps, so they can get in and get out.
And Ms. G, I think we should also accept that that's what they want, but we need to also focus on the fact that there is, the real world out there that needs the BSV adoption, utility, because it makes things easier.
It does.
Yeah.
There's something a lot more important here.
Exactly.
Ms. G, when we talk in Terranode, we're talking like massive scaling, 1 million transactions per minute, per second.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Just to start.
And we all know that we haven't reached that type of demand as of yet. What's the point of us sort of building a skyscraper in the middle of a desert where no one is going to come?
When people look at something, they say that supply will only come if there's demand. In other words, if people are demanding apples, that's when the suppliers are going to come in and bring the apples.
Yeah.
Right? But that doesn't work for innovation.
True.
Most people don't know what they want until the innovator builds the product.
That's so true.
And if you think about the iPhone, for example, when the iPhone came out, this touch screen, no buttons, people thought, what is this? Why would we want this? Where are my buttons? BlackBerry was pumping at the time.
I remember very well because, that was the QWERTY keyboard was a thing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, there's no buttons.
Yeah.
That was like a complete shift,
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think Steve Ballmer, I'm sure there's a quote, we can get a video quote. He says, well, there's no buttons here. Why would we need something like this?
Yeah.
Zune was getting some traction, then Steve Jobs goes to Macworld and he pulls out this iPhone. What was your first reaction when you saw that?
$500 fully subsidized with a plan? I said, that is the most expensive phone in the world, and it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard, which makes it not a very good email machine.
And yet, once the iPhone was here, that's when people started realizing, hang on, I want one of these things.
Yeah.
And that's what innovation is like. People don't know what they want until those products are here.
Yeah.
When it comes to inventions, you don't know that you want something that hasn't been invented yet.
True.
Because it hasn't been invented yet.
Yeah.
But when you're suddenly faced now with this new technology that can do something, you're like, wow, I really want this thing. So there's this concept in economics which is called the supply side demand creation.
Yeah.
And when you have innovation and you have a new technology, it creates demand.
Mm-hmm.
Now you said, why should we build Terranode and try and achieve millions of transactions per second if nobody is demanding that?
Yeah.
Well, it's exactly the same thing. When you build a system that can cater to millions of transactions per second, you're going to get people looking at it and saying, wow, there's something that I can use. And that's when demand is going to be created. And so this whole concept of you only build it when you're asked to build it is completely backwards.
If that was the case, then we wouldn't have advanced as we have as humans.
We would have had no inventions because nobody would be asking for those inventions.
Exactly.
But it takes a visionary, it takes an inventor to say, this is something that's cool, this is something that can be used, and this is something that people are going to want.
And you are sort of foreseeing something that people don't see.
That's right, because that's the whole nature of being a visionary, right? You see the future, and the rest of the world is still way behind. And once you then create that product, of course, now you've got to try and educate people, you've got to explain it to them.
Yeah.
And then once they figure it out, they're going to start using it and they're not going to be able to live without it.
Naturally so.
That's right. So this whole idea about BSV building something that can scale to millions of transactions with no demand at this stage, you don't want to wait for the demand when you start building. By then it's too late. You have to start building it now so that you can start attracting people. So you've got to build it before people want it. You've got to demonstrate that this thing can achieve enormous numbers of transactions at very low cost.
Yeah.
And once the innovation is there, that's when the demand is going to grow. People at this stage in crypto, nobody knows that Bitcoin or any kind of crypto can scale massively. None of them can. Ethereum is not doing it, not even Solana, not Cardano. None of these cryptos are managing to achieve what BSV is achieving.
Yeah.
And yet people who say, well, BSV is trying to achieve something that doesn't make sense because no one's wanting it, they've missed the whole concept of supply-side demand creation.
Yeah.
We need to be able to demonstrate that BSV can scale before there's going to be demand for it. And in fact, if you wait too late, if you only wait when there is a massive crowd outside your door, there's a big queue lined up, everyone's knocking on the door trying to get in, if that's the only time that you start thinking about scaling your blockchain, well, that's too late, because it's not trivial and it takes time, and by the time you get it right, well, your competitor's going to be there first. So it's so important at this stage to be able to build for the future.
Yeah.
BSV is populated by visionaries. Everybody who is interested in Bitcoin SV, the real Bitcoin, they are ahead of the crowd. They see what other people don't. And when you're ahead of the crowd, you can look like a loony to the people who are stuck back there.
True.
Somebody who's crazy and doesn't know what they're talking about. I mean, that's just the history of innovators from the dawn of man.
Yeah.
You know, when the guy invented the wheel, you know, people looked at him as crazy or whatever.
Every invention, Mr. G.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. You've got to build it before there is demand for it.
Yeah, Mr. G, I feel like there's major demand for BSV.
Yeah.
The demand is actually there. We just don't know it yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's so much demand for a massively scalable, low-cost blockchain.
Yeah.
But people don't know that something like that exists.
Yep.
But they are going to learn, because Terranode is a massive deal.
Yeah.
It's going to be the only blockchain that can prove it can actually reach massive scale and
Facts.
not hit a scaling ceiling. And when that happens, when the world starts noticing, you're going to see a massive change in attitude towards crypto. You're going to see people looking at BSV as the future of blockchain.
Yeah.
And then you better hold on to your hats.
You better, because it's going to be a very strong breeze coming your way, yo. So guys, remember, you need BSV, and this is the real BSV plug. So remember to show some love. Tell your granny, your neighbors, everyone, show some love. Mobile money on fire. Mr. G, a lot of people think that BSV has no future. I guess based off the fact that there's not much manpower, developers, there isn't much backup, like investors. Is that true?
Yeah, that is true. I mean, that's the state of the world we live in today, where if you look at the BSV ecosystem, there aren't that many app developers out there or entrepreneurs who are creating new businesses that are now leveraging BSV blockchain. Everybody looks at that and says, well, you know, compared to Solana, for example, or Ethereum, you know, they've got thousands of developers and people starting companies and stuff. So, you know, what's with BSV if it's so great?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's pretty simple. You know, BSV is not a quick win. It's something at this stage that is still trying to achieve that scale. Terranode is, of course, coming along bit by bit, and it's giving us a good indication of what kind of scale we can reach. But this is not an industry right now where you have many investors looking at scalable blockchain, identifying BSV as the only scalable blockchain, and then deciding to invest for the long term. Most investors who are looking at crypto, they want the quick wins. They want the quick return on investment.
Yeah.
And the companies that are making all the money in crypto are not the companies who are trying to innovate around a blockchain and trying to incorporate blockchain into existing services and existing enterprises, trying to create new business models. The people who are making money in crypto now are the exchanges, the companies that are allowing people to trade and stake their cryptos. that's where the real money is right now that can be earned. Now, it's not sustainable, of course, but for investors, they just want to make sure they can get in and they can get that return as quick as possible.
Yeah.
And for entrepreneurs, again, when you're building a business, as an entrepreneur, you're limited. You're limited in your runway. If you're lucky enough to get an investor, that's not going to last you a very long time. And you need to start generating revenue. You need to start earning profit. You need to be able to break even so that you can become sustainable. And BSV, unfortunately, because of this universe of cryptos right now, where most investors are not looking at scalable blockchain, and most entrepreneurs are not looking at a long, hard task of trying to convince the world that BSV is a better platform. They are more interested in these quick wins. And so, yes, BSV at this stage requires a very certain kind of investor, somebody who has a long-term view.
Commitment.
A visionary.
A visionary who knows that this is not going to be quick. This is about slow, steady building and a hopeful future. But who knows when that future is going to come along. And for the entrepreneurs like us, we are a startup company that's trying to use Bitcoin SV as a low-cost cash system to be able to bring down the costs of mobile money on the African continent and other emerging economies. We have a long road ahead, not only from the BSV adoption point of view, but also regulation. A lot of regulation when it comes to payments.
A lot. And
cross-border payments and that sort of thing. That regulatory environment is, for the most part around the world, still being established. Licensing regimes are being incorporated or established.
Sorry, Ms. G. And you also pick a sense of importance, of this, because, when you bring regulators to the table, seems like a very important technology to consider.
Do you know where we'd be without rules and regulation?
Yes, well, right now all regulators here is how unstoppable and unconfiscatable and anonymous crypto is.
Which is what they don't want to hear.
And so here we are trying to demonstrate how BSV is regulatory compliant. We've got to make sure that the regulators figure this out and don't just lump BSV into the whole crypto space where it's just lost and misunderstood. So this is not a quick game. This is a game for the visionary. This is a long-term game. It's a hard game. It requires persistence. It requires dedication, resilience, and of course, as a BSV company, you're going to get hate. You're going to get the skeptics.
We're cool with that, Mr. G, as long as we're standing on the true foundation of what it should be.
That's it.
I'll take it any day, man.
That's right. So we got to just accept that this is not going to be quick. And so given all the hardships, given the complexities, given the trials that we have to face and the backlash from the crypto world, this is not easy. This is a game that is going to play out over time. And if you are lucky enough as an entrepreneur in the BSV space to be able to survive through this crypto mania, this crypto craze that we're living through, then of course on the other side it is a wonderful opportunity, because BSV does make things better. And in terms of Centbee, we are so excited about the opportunity to bring low-cost digital cash payments to the African continent. BSV has the ability to transform billions of people's lives, not because they're investing in a token and they can go and retire later on, but because there are so many problems when it comes to moving money around the world.
Or even just purchasing just everyday things.
That's right, using digital cash. And so the opportunity is amazing. And when we get there, it's going to be the best. We can't wait for that. We're going to be there. We're going to be ready. We're going to be established. But the thing is, we've got to get there. And to get there, we've got to just sail this ocean of crypto chaos. And we've got to get to the other side. Now, that's really hard for us because, of course, we depend on investment from our VCs. And we need very specific VCs who understand what I've just said, who know that this is not a short-term game. This is a long-term game. We've got the world against us, and we just have to persist. But for those VCs and those businesses that do persist to the other side, there's going to be an amazing reward at the end of it all. So we are going to do our best, of course.
Centbee is still alive and kicking, and we're still going forth, because this battle just started, Mr. G. Literally, we're only just loading our pistols now.
Jeez, it feels like it's been going for the last 10 years at least, mate.
Nah, man, I feel like the past 10 years has been like the gearing up for the real battle, because like we're saying, there's been a lot of work being done hindsight, you know, whether it's regulation talks or even Terranode kicking off.
There's the Terranode juggernaut that's coming along,
so
the battleship.
So Mr. G, I feel like this is the calm before the storm.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Terranode's bringing it. We're also bringing it in terms of information, so that people who are coming into this for the first time can understand it.
Yeah.
So that's why it seems like BSV is dead. It's because, yes, there are very few entrepreneurs out there, very few VCs who are willing to fund those companies for the long term. But it doesn't mean the technology is dead. It just means right now, perhaps it's just early. And of course, when you are a visionary and you are a futurist thinking of the future, you're ahead of everybody, and you've got to wait for everybody to catch up.
And it requires patience, Mr. G.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we are on that path. We are willing to be persistent and dedicated to this task. And if we can just get to the other side, Centbee is going to take over the world. Certainly the African continent, where mobile money is pervasive but so high cost. We're ready. We're ready for it.
I mean, Mr. G, it could have been easy just to take the easy route out, you know? Build an exchange, rip people off, drive a Lamborghini. We made it.
Yeah, we've got our Lamborghini here, remember?
We've got it, Joe. But yeah, we here trying to, you know, get everyone on board, get everyone to utilize the true Bitcoin, you know, and I feel like that is our mission, Mr. G here.
Yes, that's our mission, and to explain it so other people can benefit. It's not just us. Centbee can't do it all. We need all these visionaries.
Yeah, we are encouraging people to build on the BSV blockchain. We are encouraging, you know, regulators to learn more about the blockchain. So this is not just for us, Mr. G. This is literally for everyone, like BSV is.
That's right. So anybody who thinks that BSV has no future, they don't understand what's going on. They don't understand that there's a little bear that's just hibernating, and it's growing stronger in the den, and eventually spring is going to come, and that bear is going to climb out of that cave, and it's going to be hungry.
And it's just going to be tearing apart crypto, man.
Yes.
Can't wait for that day, Mr. G. Mr. G, you know, in the real world, there's rules and regulations, you know?
Yes.
But it seems like these guys, by these guys, I mean the cryptards, you know, they seem to be cool with the idea of nothing should be regulated. For the fact that BSV, you know, has a couple of rules set in place on how developers also interact with the blockchain, whether it's also the digital asset recovery feature, you know, there is some way of complying.
Yeah.
And we all know that BSV has always like been sort of vocal in terms of having to go by the book.
Yes.
But with the crypto dudes, I mean, they just want, you know, a free market, free for all, you know, I guess something like Silk Road, because that makes better sense to them. But they don't want anything where, you know, it will be regulated in a way that it operates where people are accountable.
Yes, that's right. You know, a lot of people in crypto hate this idea of regulation.
Yeah.
You know, that really is just the crypto story. They don't want to be governed.
Yeah.
They don't want to have to follow rules.
Yeah.
The false notion of crypto was that this was a free for all, as you said, a free market where people can do anything they want. It's permissionless, you know, that whole thing. And the fact that now if you have a payment that can get blocked, that can be traced, that can be confiscated, that is anti-crypto. And interestingly, exactly what Bitcoin was meant to do.
Yeah.
It was meant to create a system that could be regulated and could be governed, that followed rules. It complied with all the rules around payments and markets as well. I mean, if you're buying and selling things that are illegal, government wants to know about it.
Yeah.
And so there's this whole idea that people don't want the intersection of blockchain and law. But that is the complete wrong way of looking at Bitcoin and what its original aims were.
Yeah.
And it's just naive. I mean, anybody can think, anybody watching this
Big time.
must know that if you're going to create a technology that governments hate and can't stand, that they're just going to stand around and allow this to happen. You know, this idea of the Bitcoin reserve, although now it's the crypto reserve in the United States. You know, do you think those politicians are going to want to hold cryptos that cannot be traced and cannot be tracked and seized and all that? Of course not. The biggest nightmare for people in crypto who are so excited right now that Donald Trump is going to now start pumping their bags and purchasing their cryptos is that he's going to turn around and say, whoa, hang on. I don't like the way these cryptos are decentralized. In other words, cannot be stopped, cannot be controlled. We're going to change them. And we had a whole show about Donald Trump and him buying his Bitcoin reserve. And we said that if Bitcoin BTC is ever purchased by Donald Trump, in the unlikely chance that we think he's ever going to do it, he's not going to just say, all right, you guys can have your decentralized crypto. He's going to say, well, we're going to fork this thing because we need to start putting rules in place and governance.
Mr. G, you're talking the president there.
Yes. Yeah. He's not going to just want a free-for-all, as you say, and Silk Roads coming along. So the most important thing about blockchain succeeding is that it has to incorporate within it the ability to comply with all the rules and regulations around transactions.
I find it so hard to wrap my head around, you know, people wanting unlawful or unethical ways of doing business or, I don't know, moving money.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense, Mr. G.
Well, it's an ideal, you know, this ideal of a free market, which, of course, you know, we all want to have free trade and free markets. But, you know, the problem is that when you have an anonymous system, it's not just nice for everybody, because what it does is it then attracts the criminal element.
Exactly.
Who will then go and abuse that.
Yeah.
And they will then do all their criminal activity through there.
Yeah, because if we look at Silk Road, you know, I feel like that was just the tip of the iceberg. Imagine if we had like such, you know, like free markets.
Yeah.
That would be crazy.
Because it's not just contraband, it could be assassinations, it can be trafficking.
Body parts.
Yeah.
Like some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's literally what happens in the dark.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you're invisible, then, you know, the ring of Gyges, you just can't help being a criminal.
Yeah.
And Satoshi knew this. You know, when he created Bitcoin, he understood that you can't have a system like that. It's never going to be allowed.
Yeah.
And so the history of Bitcoin really has been the history of people trying to move away from Satoshi's compliant vision into this anonymous world. And that's why you have those anonymity cryptos like Monero. You know, this is just the world that crypto wants.
Yeah.
And bit by bit, what we're seeing with regulators now is that they are clamping down on that. They are requiring crypto businesses to be licensed and to do anti-money laundering and to know their customers. Every single crypto business is going to have to comply with these rules eventually around the world. Otherwise, they get shut down.
Yeah.
And there's a very important rule, a guideline from an organization called the Financial Action Task Force, which banks and all that around the world follow the guidelines. And one of them is the travel rule guideline, where crypto companies are soon going to have to transmit, when they are doing a transaction, the information or the identity of the sender and the identity of the receiver. That information is going to have to travel with the transaction. Which means that every single crypto transaction that happens is the governments are going to force the businesses that are facilitating those transactions to have personal identifying information in that transaction so that they can identify who the sender was and who the receiver was, the personal identity of the sender and the receiver.
Yeah.
Now, that is impossible for most of crypto to comply with. And so they are going to be the first ones that get eliminated.
And a self-elimination.
Yes, they're going to be eliminated. Any other blockchain that doesn't comply is also going to be eliminated. And businesses are just not going to provide them. I mean, we can see how exchanges delist cryptos based on whatever. You're going to see a whole what's it when the Grim Reaper comes along with his scythe?
Yeah, literally.
Not harvest. When you culling.
He's culling.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's going to be a whole culling of cryptos.
Bloodshed. Yo.
If they don't comply with the rules that are being put in place around the world today. The Financial Action Task Force is a global organization that every bank around the world is following. And if they say these are the guidelines, these are the rules, you can be sure that these measures are being put in place right now.
And you know what's funny, Mr. G? Law doesn't care about your feelings.
No.
You know, like that's how the financial system has been operating. Transactions can never be anonymous, and that's that. So these guys having to want to push this idea like it will pass, come on, guys, wake up now. Come on.
Yeah.
How? This is where the real stuff is at. What more do we want?
That's right.
Yeah.
So anybody who's saying that people don't want blockchain and law, they don't want legal system, they don't want any of that, are clueless about the real world.
Yeah.
And those are going to be the people that get culled immediately if they're investing in their encrypted cryptos, their non-compliant cryptos.
Even if you were to ask, a teenager, a young kid, this is a no-brainer, Mr. G. No one wants to live in an unlawless society.
That's right.
Come on, man. We need to actually adopt the BSV because a lot of things will be eliminated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the brilliance of Satoshi Nakamoto. He understood all this.
Yeah.
And everybody is trying to get away from it. And yet, BSV is there. And that little tortoise is just taking one step after the next. And all those hares out there, those crypto hares, they're all running out of steam and eventually are just waiting for a big crypto monster to munch them up at the end.
Is it, remember the Duracell ad?
Yes.
Yeah. It was a Duracell or Energizer.
Yeah.
With those Energizer bunnies.
No, it was Duracell. Wasn't
it?
A golden black battery, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Duracell bunny.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
The Duracell bunny.
Yeah.
I chose a couple of those flat batteried bunnies just running by and they just pass out along the way.
Exactly.
But we're gonna slowly but surely and steadily, walk this path with resilience and purpose, and we're still gonna be here in the next 10 years, guys.
Yes, and thinking about that Duracell bunny, the battery that is in BSV is the Teranode battery that is now about to be going online, and of course it's regulatory compliant, scalable, transparent, traceable, pseudonymous blockchain.
All the bells and whistles, Mr.
That is what's going to give it the resilience and the ability to just keep climbing till the moon.
Yeah. Facts, yo. Mr. G, I mean, there's also, this narrative that BSV is failing or struggling because of people involved in it.
Yeah.
Specifically Craig.
Dr. Craig Wright.
Dr. Craig Wright.
Yes.
They feel like he's sort of like tainting BSV's growth. Yeah.
Yeah. The idea that people matter in this world of blockchain, the people that were involved in the internet protocol, do you remember any of them? I mean, there were some very important characters involved in the formation and the development of the internet.
Yeah.
A lot of them controversial, and some people in those days that might have been thought of as perhaps bad for the technology
or cancelable.
Yes. And so this idea that this is about people, of course, that's not true.
Yeah.
Well, in some ways it is. It's about people who are visionaries. We need those people. But the people behind this system, at the end of the day, blockchain is here.
Yeah.
And it's more than just one person that matters now. It's everybody in the community, all the developers, all the educators, all the entrepreneurs, all the venture capitalists, everybody who is driving this idea of a regulatory compliant blockchain. Those are the people that matter. Now, Dr. Craig Wright, of course, a very controversial person. He was very much involved in the creation of Bitcoin. And if you don't believe us, well then do your own research. Open a book.
DYR.
So, Dr. Craig Wright, of course, he's been he's gone through a lot of court cases and defamation suits. People are calling him a scammer and all that kind of stuff. But regardless of what you think of him, he doesn't have any ability to now affect this train that's in motion. This train is on the tracks, and it has it's speeding up, it's picking up momentum, and that momentum is unstoppable. And so regardless of what you think of Craig Wright or anybody involved, even us in the BSV ecosystem, BSV is bigger than all of us. And the fact is that it works. It actually delivers. It delivers on the promise of a scalable network that can lower the costs of transactions in a regulatory compliant, legal way. And so that's what matters right now. And that is what is going to be what we focus on and we see pushed off into the future. So forget about the scandals. Forget about the people that you don't like, the people that have hurt your feelings.
Forget
perhaps.
about the man.
Yes.
And focus on the idea.
Exactly. Play the game.
You're right,
Don't play the man.
I think most people were hurt. Like, it's more a personal thing, you know? Like their feelings. Now you're shooting down the idea and you're actually missing the bigger picture.
That's right. Don't miss the bigger picture. Stop focusing on people. Focus on the facts. Focus on the technology. Focus on the opportunity. Because if you focus on the people, then you've missed it. You are unfortunately distracted and you're not thinking clearly. The BSV blockchain right now is pure. It is simple. It is beautiful. And it works. And if you're not looking at it like that, you're behind. You're not a visionary. You are behind the visionaries, confused, not sure what's going on. So be a visionary. Wake up to the reality that Satoshi Nakamoto's blockchain exists, and he was right. It doesn't reach a scaling ceiling. It ticks all the boxes that every regulator in the world wants ticked. And all we now have to do is get through the crypto chaos, this winter of crypto, and there's a spring coming soon. And if you are clued up, if you watch the Centbee show and you take what we're saying seriously, then you are going to be that person who gets to benefit while everybody else falls into the gutter behind you. Just like there have so many people in the past who missed the boat. They didn't see the innovation. They weren't wised up to it. You don't want to be one of those people who are forgotten in history. You want to be one of those people who recognized this thing for what it is, and you weren't fooled by all the haters out there, all the what's the opposite of a visionary? The blind people
and the naysayers.
The naysayers, because the world is full of them, full of people who don't believe in anything, and and all they want to do is bring everybody down. You know, is that the kind of person you are? Be a person who builds somebody up. Here we have this great opportunity, and you can now capitalize on that and be part of the significant event that's changing the world and that you should be so excited about.
Facts, man. How does that saying go, Mr. G? Great minds discuss ideas, small minds discuss people.
Yes, wait. It's small minds discuss people, average minds discuss events.
Great minds discuss ideas.
Yes.
And we've been keeping... Not that I'm bragging, you know, but we've been keeping the idea fresh, And guys, remember to subscribe, show some love,
Yes.
Mobile Money on Fire. Thanks, Ms. G. I mean, we've said it that the real Bitcoin will never die, Mr. G. It will forever be alive, even if we're here or not. It's still gonna be alive, yo. We stepping into this week's user questions and feedback. Our first one comes from Dr. Tesla and his radio. Shout out to Dr. Tesla. And they're saying Centbee will be huge in a few years. We crossing fingers, yo.
Awesome, Dr. Tesla. Thanks for that great comment. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it.
Come on, Mr. You can't just say it. You said it will be huge in a few years.
Oh, sorry. I forgot about that.
Come on.
Yes. No, thanks. That's great. We hope so. I mean, that's how we work. You know, we are trying to build a giant skyscraper in the desert here. And it takes a lot of work and it's a long time. So we're committed. We are not going anywhere. We believe in this with all our hearts. And we want to see Satoshi's vision realized. So we're here. We're doing it.
All in, man. Thanks, Dr. Tesla. I mean, Mr. G, people talk about, skyscrapers being built in the middle of the desert. Like it's weird. I mean, we have Dubai.
Yes, exactly. I mean, there we go. They built skyscrapers in the desert. People came, and now they snowboard.
Literally, like it's a global attraction now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Dr. Tesla. Yeah, our second one comes from J Paps, and they saying, I always enjoy your conversations. It's like sitting down with a few good friends. Oh man.
Yeah, great, J Paps. That's exactly that is why we do the show, for comments like that.
Yeah.
If you're sitting here watching with us, you know, you're part of us and part of the team and part of the vibe. So we thank you very much.
Thanks, J Paps. Much love, yo. Yeah, our third one comes from the BSV Godfather, one of our regulars, yo. Well, BSV Godfather is saying challenge accepted, meme loading.
Yes, we had a joke in our last episode. Check it, and BSV Godfathers made us a meme, so we're definitely posting that.
That was cool, man, and quite accurate actually. Shout out to BSV Godfather. Thanks for that, man.
Great, yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching us, and thanks for the comments.
I think we've come to the end of our show.
Cool, great. Another show in the bag. Yeah, so we want to thank you for watching us today, talking about Bitcoin SV, the real Bitcoin. And we want you to leave here after watching this with this idea that Bitcoin SV, or the real Bitcoin, is far from dead.
Yeah.
It is this hibernating bear that is just waiting to get out of the cave in springtime and go out and grow and flourish. And if you don't see that, you're just not looking hard enough.
Yeah.
We've got no fear that Bitcoin SV is going to be relegated to the dust heap of cryptos. Far from that. We see it building up a base where it's going to be able to rise above every other crypto and eventually be the only one standing. And it's not a quick game, and it's not going to be a game that, if you like pumps and dumps, is going to be exciting. Nope. This is about slow, steady, and working in the right direction with people who are sensible, with people who are visionaries. So if you are a visionary, you know what I'm talking about, and you're going to leave all this other speculative mania stuff behind you, and you're going to abandon the haters, the people who just don't have the capacity to understand what we're dealing with here. You can join us as we travel into this world that Satoshi envisioned for us, and you can benefit. And you can skip all the noise behind you and all the broken promises and dreams that just cannot be realized.
That's literally what they are, dreams.
Yes.
They will never materialize into reality.
Right. This is where we talk about real Bitcoin. This is the reality right here.
Yeah.
Not the dream.
G.
That was a good one. I want to thank Cage for being my legendary co-host of the Centbee Show.
I appreciate it, man.
We want to thank you for joining us today on the Centbee Show. Please come back soon. All right, so we'll see you guys in the next one.